Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rachakwadash. And double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. A sincere Shalom to the hopeful elect that's out there listening, learning, and or teaching Shalom. Right. So today I want to go into a video, proving how the Israelites, were all originally so-called black, right? Or dark skin, which is more accurate, man, because, the word black just means devoid of light, okay? And it goes into evil and stuff like that. That's not our people. Our people are made in the image of the Most High, man. So we ought not call ourselves black. Okay, we're dark brown skin. That's our skin tone, right? Okay, but the point being, all right, as I've made videos before, the Heavenly Father Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shai are so-called black men, okay, with white woolly hair on their head and on their beard, okay. But today we're gonna be giving you, let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4 precepts that I want to go into, specifically giving you examples of the Israelites being so-called black. Because the whole point here is we're going to show you straight from the book of the Lord, man. All right? Undeniable evidence that the true Israelites were so-called black men and women. Okay? So we're going to start with Exodus chapter 4 and verse 1. It says Moses was given powers, right? That's the title. All right, let's get into it. It says, and Moses answered and said, but behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, Yahweh hath not appeared unto thee. And Yahweh said unto him, what is that in thy hand? And he said, a rod, right? So Moses was doubting, the Lord wanted him to go talk to his people. And Moses, he had his doubts. He was saying, oh, well, Lord, they're going to doubt me. They're not going to believe that, you actually sent me. And the Lord said, well, what's this thing in your hand? And he said, it's a rod, right? Moving on to verse 3, it says, and he said, cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from before it. You see, so he threw that stick on the ground, and the Lord made it turn into a snake. Moses got scared. Verse 4, and Yahweh said unto Moses, put forth thine hand, and take it by the tail. And he put forth his hand, and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand, right? So it turned back into a stick or a rod, when it was a snake, because the Lord was showing his power, right? Verse 5, that they may believe that Yahweh, power of their fathers, the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob, hath appeared unto thee. And Yahweh said furthermore unto him, put now thine hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. You see, so how could your hand turn white if you're a so-called white man? You see, when you look up Moses right now, let's do an example. Moses on the internet. What comes up? A fucking cracker, man. You see? You see? Let's keep it real. It's a goddamn Edomite, right? These fucking lying devils, man. Well, if his hand was already white, then how did the Lord make it leprous as snow? You see, so he had to be black. So called. Now let's go back and look. You can see all these examples, man. It's not just one. All right? Hey, like the scriptures say, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of the judges. How does he cover our faces? He made us from black. He turned us into white, right? Or he painted his own images, you see? There's a precept on that in the book of the Maccabees too. It says they opened up the book of the law and sought to paint the likeness of their images. Both of those scriptures is talking about these Edomites, these so-called white people who are the devil that the Bible speaks of. You see? And today we're exposing one of his major lies, man. One of those major lies is that the Israelites are so-called white people. right? You got these Israelis over there in our land claiming to be the people of the Bible. And those are the most wicked people in the earth, those Israelis over there, man. You know, the Israelis and Caucasians are one and the same, man. They're Edomites, according to the Bible, man. All right, which we made several videos on that. Okay, but getting back into it, this is Exodus 4 and 6. We're going to grab this word leprous as snow. So we're going to see what does it mean in the Hebrew. H6879.
Strong's H6879. Sarah. Sarah.
To be diseased of what? Of skin. To be leprous. Okay, now watch this. We're going to go on the internet. Leprous. Leprosy. All right. I'm going to see if we can find it. Okay, here's a good example. You see how the rest of his skin is normal, but then some of it is white. Okay, here's the example that I was looking for, man. All right, this is what real leprosy is. Okay, it's when your skin loses its melanin. Okay, here's a so-called black man with certain parts of his skin having leprosy. You see? This is what the scriptures is talking about when it says his hand was made leprous as snow. You see? So, notice how the skin tone is the same as a so-called white man. So it's impossible for Moses to have been a so-called white man, because if he put his hand in his bosom and then took it out and it was white as snow, he wouldn't have noticed the difference. Nobody would have noticed the difference. You see? But we notice here there's a difference because this is so-called black man's skin and that's so-called white man's skin over there. You see? Hey, man, this is why it's important to read the Bible, to understand. You know, the scriptures say, above all else, seek wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, roughly paraphrasing, man. All right? Salakia, that's not the one. Let's go back here. All right. Gone. So, yeah, that was Exodus 4 and 6. All right, as y'all saw, the Lord was using that example, right, that miracle where he made Abraham, or Salakia, not Abraham, Moses' hand to turn pale like a so-called white man. In order to do what? To show that sign to the Israelites. Be like, look, my hand is, regular like y'all's, dark skin, and now it's light skin because the Lord is showing his power. The same thing when he threw the stick on the ground, it became a snake. You see? But just the point of this, the point of this scripture is to show you that, man. If you read those context clues, it lets you know what the Israelites actually looked like. Okay? And right now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get another example with Moses. This is Exodus chapter 2 and 15. It says, Moses escapes to Midian. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Right? So Moses was running away because Pharaoh was trying to kill him. All right, verse 16. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. All right, so you had 12 women sitting by the well. Verse 17. And the shepherds came and drove them away. Right, so these men with sheep, those are shepherds, right? They drove the women away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. Right, so Moses stood up for the 12 women that was sitting by the well and said, nah, let them get their water, man. They were here first, right? Let them water their flock of sheep. All right. Verse 18. And when they came to Ruel, their father, right? So the daughters went back to their dad. He said, how is it that you are come so soon today, right? How'd you water your flock so quickly? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock, right? Who's that Egyptian they're talking about? Okay, they talking about Moses. Why? Because they mistaked Moses for an Egyptian. Why? All right, because we know that the ancient Egyptians were so-called black men. As you can see, man, they were dark-skinned men with melanin and woolly hair. Okay? And guess what? The Israelites were dark-skinned with woolly hair, man. Okay? So as you can see, it's easy for someone of another race to confuse us for the Egyptians, man. Okay? And yeah, man, you can see these are the hieroglyphs, with the pictures. And, this is how the Egyptians painted themselves, man. The true Egyptians before Alexander the Greek went over there and mingled his seed among them and kicked their people out, like these devils do. They steal lands and shit. Now you go to Egypt and is lighter skinned people, man. But the real Egyptians are very, very dark skinned, man. Very dark skinned people. Okay? And, these are the people that look like our people, man. Let me get that. So as you can see, here's our people, right? And the Egyptians. It's very easy to confuse us, right? Even though I want to say this is very important. We are not Egyptians, okay? We are not so-called Africans, okay? Our people are actually different, okay? We are the Israelites, okay? And that shouldn't be a surprise, man, because well, it is to the people of this world, because the people of this world think that the only dark-skinned people came from Africa. But that's not true, man. Everybody used to be dark-skinned. The only light-skinned person ever created was the so-called white man, the Edomites. Okay, and even they had dark skin before the Lord cursed them with that leprosy. Okay, that's what the mark of Cain is all about. It's that leprosy. The Lord cursed them, man, because they're so fucking wicked and evil, man. The Lord cursed them back then, man. And they gonna be cursed, ultimately in the end. Right now, they're in their blessing. That's why they rule the earth. But like the scriptures say, their latter end is that they shall be destroyed forever. Okay? So yeah, man, the scriptures is not for the simple-minded. Okay? But if you follow the scriptures, you can understand. You follow it closely, man. So yeah, Moses was mistaken for an Egyptian. All right? Moses made his hand, or had the Lord turn his hand white in order to show the Lord's power, to prove to the Israelites that, hey, the Lord is using me to speak to you today, right? Moses threw a staff on the ground and turned it into a snake in order to prove that the Lord spoke with him, right? But in these examples, you'll see those context clues, man, that Moses was a so-called black man, all right, who looked like an Egyptian, okay, because he was a so-called black man. Now, we're going to go to Song of Solomon chapter 1. This is the classic, man. I've brought this out many times before, and it's such an obvious example, man. King Solomon, the richest Israelite who ever lived. The most wise, richest Israelite who ever lived, right? Verse 1, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's, showing you the author of this book is Solomon, right? So we're going to go to verse 5. I am black. Right there, man. Very simple, man. King Solomon, all right, an Israelite of the tribe of Judah, right? The same as our 12 tribes chart here, man. Showing you that it's accurate, man. Okay, Judah is today's so-called Negroes. Okay? What does it say? I am black but comely, which means beautiful. O you daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Yeah, you see? So let's go ahead and get those tents of Kedar, man. So y'all can see. Tents of Kedar. Let's see what they look like. Oh, what's that? They were black. You see? So King Solomon looked like these tents, according to the Bible. According to the Bible. Fuck your fake archaeological evidence, you damn Edomites, talking about how, the Israelites were Mediterranean. Oh no, they were olive skin. Olives are green, man. See, these so-called white people will say anything, man. But what does the Bible say? We get our wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from the Bible. That's the true wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, man. making wise the simple. You see? But yeah, that's dark tents. That's black tents, man. Let's get another example. Tents of Kedar and the curtains of Solomon, man. You know? Let's see here. Yep, tents of Kedar. I haven't seen one light-skinned tent. You know? Look at that. They all dark. They all dark. You see? So with that, tents of Kedar and the curtains of Solomon. Okay, see if we can find them. You see, and even the world knows about this stuff, man. Look, even the world knows about it. I am black, but comely is the daughter. What? Yeah, they didn't quote it properly, but anyway, you get the point. You get the point. The tents of Kedar, the curtains of Solomon. Yep, I'm dark but lovely, right? It's the same thing. I'm black and beautiful, right? It's the same thing. So anyway, man, that's the point, okay? All right, Solomon, the so-called black man. Moses, the so-called black man. Look at this. Oh, look at this. Verse 6 goes into it deeper. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. See, so it's not symbolic. Okay, it's literal. The sun looking upon you is talking about when you go outside and the sun is shining on you, right? Your skin gets darker and darker the more you tan your skin. Okay? So it's talking about skin color right there, man. Boom. So easy, bro. So easy. You see? If the Spirit is dealing with you, it's so easy to understand the truth of the Bible, man. You'll go to church for 40 fucking years, man. A fake Christian church. They won't tell you that the real Israelites, right? The people who the whole book was written for, that they're black. Oh no, they're not. It doesn't matter what they are. It doesn't matter. That's what they say, right? You know, it's crazy, man. All right, but let's get the next example, man. We go all day. This is Matthew's chapter 2, verse 11. And when they were coming to the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when he had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. Right? So the three wise men came and gave gifts to Yahushua when he was born, right? Being just a baby. Verse 12, and being warned of the Most High in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way, right? Because Herod, an Edomite, a so-called white man, okay, was looking to kill Yahushua. Or not just Yahushua, but, you know, he probably would have killed these three wise men too. You see, so the Lord warned them to go another way. All right, now verse 13, it says the flight to Egypt, right? Matthew chapter 2, verse 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph, right? That's the father of Yahushua, okay? The father of Yahushua, right? Appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. So why would the Lord tell Joseph to bring Mary and Yahushua to Egypt? Because they were all so-called black. And guess what? Just like Moses got confused for an Egyptian, right, by those 12 women, so too, anybody seeking to destroy Yahushua, all right, they would be confused because everybody in Egypt at the time was dark skinned like the tribe of Israel. Here, let me get it. Here's the hieroglyphs from Egypt, okay? Right, so Yahushua being a so-called black man, you know, as a baby and as an adult, of course. But, you know, Yahushua, Mary, Joseph, right, looking like this, go to Egypt with people that look like this. Ain't nobody gonna find them, man. Ain't no crackers gonna go over there. They didn't have sunscreen back then, so if they had to go over there, it would have had to been quick, right? or they would have had to wear a lot of shit on their head or whatever. It would have been too much work. The point is, they would have went down there, and it would have been very hard to differentiate. Now, guess what? Okay, let's do another thought experiment. Let's say Joseph, Mary, and Yahushua was white, so-called white, and they went to Egypt. They would stick out like a sore fucking thumb, man. All right, that would have been the worst place to go. They would have been better off going to Rome. You see? They would have been much better off going to Rome if they were so-called white. You know, because these so-called white people, they blend in with other so-called white people, right? Just like so-called black people will blend in with so-called black people. You know, this ain't hard, man. Look at this, verse 14. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. You see? So yeah, man, so the Israelites are so-called black, okay? And they had the same skin tone as the ancient Egyptians, man, which are also so-called black, okay? But there's a great difference between the Egyptians and the Israelites, man, okay? And that's that the Israelites were chosen by Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. They are the chosen people. And the so-called Africans or Hamites today, they are not the chosen people. They are just heathens. Just like Esau, Moab, Ammon, okay, Ishmael, okay, all these other races who are not chosen. Okay, they're just, heathens. Because the Lord makes a difference, man. Okay, and even the scholars know. I'm going to go ahead and get this. This is in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. We got the word ham. Okay, which the word ham, we're going to go into it. It says, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. Okay, so what did the scholars know, man, that you people out here don't know, man? Okay, a lot of you Uncle Toms, all right, you want to save the so-called white man. Right here it says it, man. They making a difference. See, Esau will sit here and say that you Jakes are Hamites. Okay, but here the scholars, people that actually study, man, they differentiate the blacks in America from the blacks in Africa. They're 2 different races of people, man. All right? It continues, right? Speaking about Ham, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites, right? So these 4 races are Hamites. Ham. Okay, not Negroes. Negroes are the tribe of Judah. Okay? All right? Those are the Israelites, man. You know? That's the so-called Negroes today. And the scholars know that, man. But they're not going to say it outright. They're going to hint at it. Because if they say it outright, guess what? This Zondervan Bible Dictionary would be banned. All right? But yeah, man. And then we're going to get a final precept to back that up. And we'll close out, Lord's will. This is Exodus chapter 11 and verse 7. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how that Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. That's right. So just because they're both the same skin tone does not mean they're the same people, man. The Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, are far superior to these Hamites out here, man. All right, and far superior to Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and any other race on this earth, man. We are a special people unto the Lord our power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, man. The Lord has chosen us out of all these nations to be the superior people. All right, and in the world to come, we are going to be those judges, starting with the 144,000, and then the rest of the men on down below that will be, enjoying the good life, man. But the 144,000 is going to be them kings, rulers, judges, priests. Okay. All right. Our people will be doing well. All right, and all you heathen are going into slavery, man. So get ready. Every last one of you. All right, so with that, I pray this lesson was edifying to the hopeful elect. I want to finish by giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakorash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. And Shalom Wa, Abad Babal, Shalom.